Welcome, welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. I am so happy that you stopped by today. And our next guest is all about preparing people and organizations for the future of work. Stephen Shortt brings a blend of insight, strategy, frameworks, and humor to help navigate change, embrace opportunities, and thrive in an ever evolving world. So, welcome, Stephen. I am so happy to have you here today.
Hi,
And
thanks very much for having me.
absolutely. So, tell our audience a little bit about your journey.
So I've grown up in two family businesses, sold one, bought both, sold one. I'm still running the other now. And in this family business, we've focused on personality profiling, career guidance, selection for companies. So we are in that kind of career space and helping people to, whether they're career starters or career changers, to get on the right path for them.
Okay, so tell us what that looks like.
So for
Okay.
career, so for let's say for a career starter, you're in high school or you're in university or college or something like that. You're starting out on that path, but which direction should you go in? So we've built a framework called Finding Your Ideal Career, IDEAL, which is a framework to step through to discover really what is the ideal career for you. It has never ever been easier to do something that you enjoy doing and be well rewarded for. But because it's never been easier to find something specifically for you, it's also never been harder to decide what that is because there are now so many options. So people feel a little bit overwhelmed, they feel a little bit lost, and they need some direction. Statistically, young people, young adults, and people who are starting out, they rely more on their parents than anybody else. So they take the opinions of their parents. I think it's about 80% or 82% of young people really rely on the guidance of their parents. But parents don't always have the breadth of knowledge. They know what they do, they know what maybe some of their friends do, but they don't know enough to be able to guide the next generation into the world that they're going to live in and thrive in. So that's where we come in a little bit. We run some assessments on the young people or on the career changers, people who are looking to change. And we identify what are your interests and what are your abilities, what are you good at? And then we map them against the careers that we know are hiring at the moment. There's 1,270 odd careers that we have in our database. And we map each person against that list. So we create a short list of 16 careers that each one of them you'll be interested in and be good at doing to varying degrees. So then it's about picking which are the ones that are most interesting for you.
Wow, that's amazing because I know you know how it was when we were coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anybody hired us, we was just so grateful.
Yeah, and we knew of like maybe 30 different careers that existed. Now there's thousands of variations.
And then even though we went through in our schools, we went through, placement and all that, but it wasn't as strategic as it
Hmm.
is now,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, we would see. I mean, I remember when I was in school, it was, oh, do you like numbers? Okay, you should be an engineer or an accountant. Do you like words? Okay, you should be a journalist or a lawyer. You don't really like any of that? Okay, you should go into business. And unfortunately, a lot of the female students were getting, well, you should be a nurse or a doctor, or sorry, a nurse or a teacher, and kind
Yeah.
of that was it. So now, thankfully, there's far more options and far more options for young men and women who are able to find a career that they find fulfilling and rewarding.
Yes, yes, indeed. Because I know for my son, when he was, he loves art. And since he was probably like 8 years old, he's been drawing. And
Hmm.
my conversation with him, okay, you're when you start working, that's going to be something you're going to be doing for a considerable amount of time.
Hmm.
So you need to find something that you love that doesn't make you feel like you're working.
Hmm. So there's a lot of people. So this idea of do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, right.
It's really well meaning, but actually it might not always be the best advice. So really what I encourage people to do is when they're thinking about something that they enjoy doing, actually breaking down the components of it. What is it about that thing that you enjoy doing? So I use gardening as an example. Let's say that you enjoy gardening and you say, "Oh, I love gardening. I'm going to go be a gardener." Hang on a second. What is it about gardening that you love? Because if it's, I like having order in things and being able to make sure that everything is in its place and stuff is well laid out and stuff is well done, fantastic. There's hundreds of careers where we can have that interest being fed for you. If you like seeing something through to completion, like planting right through to spring or whatever, brilliant. There's hundreds of careers that can give you that satisfaction. If, to be honest, you just like being away from people, brilliant. Hundreds of careers that we can help you. So we can start narrowing it down because if you say, okay, I really enjoy gardening and I'm a gardener, but that's my hobby, which means now my hobby has to pay my mortgage and my bills.
Mhm.
So when I get stressed, I don't have the thing to blow off steam that I used to have to be able to center me. So you start to get overwhelmed and you start to resent the thing that you once loved doing because it's not the overall activity, which is the career element, it's the component that is most engaging for you.
Yes, and I can see that. I could definitely see that for sure. Because gardening, since you spoke about it,
Yeah.
is my release. I like gardening, I
Hmm.
like being around in the playing in the dirt, so to speak. And then I
Yeah.
like to see the fruits of my labor.
There you go. So there's so many different careers, including podcasting. Like so doing this, getting from start to finish, following a whole process through where you can see that work come to fruition. So there's lots of things you can do. So understanding what it is about that career or that activity that is most appealing to you.
Yes, yes, indeed. So if people want to connect with you, how do they do so?
Easiest is just go to stephenshort.com or CareerFit is the software that we have. Or if you want to, yeah, stephenshort.com has everything.
Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, so you work with companies as well. So
Mm-hmm.
in that capacity, what does that look like?
Now, typically, we are brought in at the second round interviews when they're hiring somebody. So they've done the first round interviews and they might have a short list of 5 or 6 people. And then we look at the job description and we say, okay, based on your job description, here are the 10 different things that we can assess for in terms of their personality and who's likely to have a natural strength to be able to do this part well and this part well and this part well. And also their ability, their verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning, which is generally known as general ability. It's a better indicator for careers than something as simple as IQ. So general ability gives you a more rounded view on what that person is good at. And then we create a report specifically for that role. We run the final candidates through it, and then we're able to show the company, okay, based on what you say you're looking for, candidate C is actually the best candidate in terms of their match from a personality point of view. They scored 92 against of 100. Then candidate A, then candidate D, then candidate F, then candidate B. And we give a ranking to show not only these are the areas that they're strong in, but these are the areas that they might have a little bit of a weakness in. So in the interview process, again, this is just a tool. It's not to say hire this person, but in the interview process, then you can start to dig in and go, okay, well, we're looking for somebody who's able to work on their own. But from the report, we're seeing that you're a very social person. How do you cope with working on your own for long periods of time? So we can start to understand, have they built um, systems or have they built habits or have they built some kind of resilience to be able to do the thing that they're not naturally good at, but they're interested in pursuing?
Okay, okay. I wish we had all this when I was out there. Because it was like and I guess for me it was more of a God just kind of pointed me to where I needed to go. And
Yeah,
then I just kind of did it. You know what I'm saying?
figured it out.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And now we have more sophistication. We have more narrowing down, things. And it makes it a whole lot easier. And not only that, makes you think.
Hmm.
It makes you think more critically about where you're going in your career, which
Absolutely.
which a lot of times, especially when you trying to land that first job, you
Yeah.
just like, oh God, please somebody hire me.
So one of the things, and I talk about this when I give talks on the future of work in schools and things like that. I actually think that in the next kind of 5 to 6 years, we're going to see more young people struggling a little bit to find that first role if they're looking to get into the corporate world, because a lot of the graduate work that companies would have hired fresh graduates for to do, like a little bit of donkey work, a little bit of grunt work, of like busy work, which is how they learn how to work the system, live in that corporate culture and things like that. A lot of that stuff is going to be replaced or minimized due to AI. So a lot of the stuff that was the grunt work that these like new people, new graduates were being used for, they're not going to be used for that. So I suspect that a lot of young people are going to start becoming micropreneurs, starting their own thing, learning about business, learning about the different things that they need to learn, but not because they actually want to be an entrepreneur, not because they have the personality drive to be an entrepreneur, but because they need to pay bills. They need to learn their craft a little bit. And then once they reach a certain level in their business, in their own business, they'll start applying for junior management roles or junior leadership roles that are a little bit above the graduate level, because they'll have the experience and then they'll go into those normal jobs after that. So I can see a real explosion in micropreneur and small freelancer entrepreneur type businesses, not just because, I mean, right now they're sexy, but out of necessity, I can see a growth in that.
Yes, I can see that too because I interview a lot of people with the AI in the AI space, and some no, it's not going to take jobs, but we can clearly see it
Hmm.
that it is.
Yeah.
We can clearly see it. I mean, we're actually experiencing it right now. With calls on the phone. You know,
Hmm.
when you call a company, and most of us hate it. Most of us hate it. It's just when they first introduced that, because
Yeah.
you remember back in the day, it was a live person to answer the phone and then transferred you to whoever you
Hmm.
asked for. Now it's push this button, push that button, and Lord
So
help you, broke.
I was really surprised recently when I rang a restaurant to book a table. Now, I mean, I'm used to using the apps and everything else, but because I think there was 8 of us for a birthday party, and you could only book up to 6 people on the app. You had to ring for the other stuff because it's a small restaurant, lovely restaurant. But I remember ringing and being met with, "Hi, this is Samantha from XYZ restaurant. I'm an artificial um, receptionist, but let me know what you want." Da, 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 da. And I spoke to it like I was speaking to a human. Yeah, I want to see if there's a table for 8 people from 7:30 or something like that. Let me check. Yeah, I can do that for you. And then it sent me a text message like it was as if I was going through the whole process. And I remember thinking, this is weird, but only because this is the first time it's ever happened to me. I suspect in 2 years' time, if a real person answers the phone, I'll be going, oh, what? You're going to take much longer than this AI is. I'm used to. So
But then there's some cases, like for example, when there's a problem, you need a live person.
absolutely, yeah.
You definitely need a live person. And I'm like hating because yesterday I'm watching TV and the channel goes out. So
Hmm.
I call, first of all, they're burying, really making it very difficult to find the human phone number. That's the other
Yeah.
thing they don't. They want you to go through the knowledge base. Then they want, did that help you? No, it did not help me. So it's taken a lot of time just to get to a phone call
Hmm.
with a human.
Absolutely.
So I'm,
Um, but at the same time, when that customer service thing, I think that's not necessarily even before the automation stuff.
yes,
The customer service, there was a drop in customer service because it's expensive to hire people. Then there was offshoring and onshoring and all this kind of stuff in the US that was really doing the rounds. But because you might have 100 people in your call center with 100 different answers to the same problem. So there's a consistency element to that. So yes, I can see where the advantage of having an AI that is knows for this problem, answer this way, for this problem, answer this way. But AI is not actually all that intelligent. It's just
right,
following loops. So once you get to something that is a little bit more cognitively complex, you need a human but you need a human that is smarter than the basic AI as well. So
right.
sometimes we're stuck in a catch 22.
Exactly, exactly. So, and which my thought is now they're making the customer work harder because I had
Yeah.
to troubleshoot, I had to go through all this stuff when I'm an IT professional, 50 years. I already knew it wasn't on me. I had already did everything they
Hmm.
asked me to do. But then I get, and then I'm working and I'm like, okay, I'm doing the work. What you doing?
Yeah. Where do I send my invoice to
Right,
for my
exactly.
customer service work?
And trust me, I did. Okay, I had to work. So what's my compensation? So I got a free month. So okay,
Okay.
that'll work.
Very good.
Yes, indeed. So let's talk a little bit about pivoting because that's almost like entering the career space for the first time, trying to move into a whole nother
Hmm.
career.
Yeah. So career changers, what's where people get kind of hung up a little bit is they go, well, I've worked in this industry for 20 years. I don't think I can do anything else because they forget how many of the skills that they've built up over those 20 years are actually transferable. And how many of those, okay, you might not have the industry knowledge, but I just had a client yesterday that I was working with who had a background in um, it was he worked for a company that did janitorial services and he was a manager for that. So he had 60 people across the state where they were doing lawn maintenance in some places, they were doing cleaning in other places, they were doing construction in other places, they're all the rest of it. And he was responsible for all of the stock coming in, making sure that these people were in the right location with the right equipment to be able to do the right job and all this kind of stuff. And the company got sold and brought a much bigger place, so he was left to got a severance and off he went. And he was talking to me yesterday, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know what I can do because I can't find any other companies like this that are hiring." But we started looking at logistics companies and supply chain management roles, and there were loads of careers, loads of jobs like that, because that's actually what he was doing. He might not know anything about the IT world, but it doesn't matter what widget he's buying in to put into something else to give to somebody else to install in a location. He's done that just with building supplies or with lawn care supplies,
Mhm.
whereas it's just a different thing he's doing. So the skills that he's built, which is people management, process execution, being able to define new processes, that stuff is transferable to almost any industry. You just got to learn the nuance. So where people get hung up is that fear that, oh, I don't know anything about that industry, so I can't go work there. It's amazing how much stuff that we know as professionals that we can transfer to 80% of the careers that are out there.
Absolutely. And I think that's the first thought when you are pivoting to a whole different space is I've never done this before. That's the first thought.
Hmm.
And having someone like yourself to define, okay, this might be a different company. but they still require these skills that you have.
Hmm.
So and that gives a feeling of relief when you begin to think about it that way.
Absolutely. And like fear, the thing that I tell people all the time, depending on which report you read, anywhere between 52 and 87% of people are unhappy in their jobs right now, depending on where you are in the world, depending on which report you read. The other thing, which is also equally important, is 60% of your waking time is either spent at work or thinking about work. So when you think about 60% of your waking time, so when you're asleep, that's a different thing. But when you are awake, 60% of that time, which means that the 40% of the time is made up of hanging out with friends, um, and doing stuff you enjoy, but it also includes commuting to work. It also includes grocery shopping. It also includes cleaning your kitchen. It also includes going to the bathroom. Like there's all kinds of stuff. And 60% of that time is spent either at work or thinking about work. And if 87% of people are unhappy, that's an immense amount of wasted energy and potential. So that's why we focus, why I'm so passionate about helping people to find their ideal career so as they can actually spend that 60% of their waking time in something that they find fulfilling and rewarding.
Yes, and that's so important. And you're so right. People get up every day and I don't feel like going in here. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the thought. And then Sunday is like the Sunday blues,
Yeah.
because it's like the day before you gotta go.
Yeah.
And it is so true. And being able to really define happiness and joy in a job,
Hmm.
that is huge.
Well, happiness to me is a simple idea of a progress towards purpose.
Yes.
If you can figure out what your purpose is, and I'm not talking about it necessarily on a whole life goal, but what are you working towards? What's the thing that you're working towards? Is it a trip? Is it a home? Is it a family? Is it a milestone? So whatever it is you're working towards, if you're making progress towards that, you will be happy. Because if you don't have the purpose, you're spinning your wheels and you get lost. If you're just moving and you don't have, sorry, if you, and but you have a purpose and you're not making progress, then you feel stuck and unhappy. So I've created a framework called Happy, which is highlights appreciation, progress, people, and your contribution. And figuring out what you want to do in those five buckets will help you to really focus on what you want to spend your time doing.
Wow. That's awesome. And I also see that you are an author. I was definitely perusing around heavily.
You were definitely doing some homework on me.
Yes, I was. And I see that you've written a book. Let me go find that title. Your Future Career.
So yeah, well, I'm finished final draft of that. I'm hoping to get it published before the summer. But it's the everything that you need as a career starter. So the things you need to be aware of going into the future of work, finding your ideal career, what are the skills, what are the mindsets that you need to start developing to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success.
Okay. And then you have some other titles that you're working on. You're just busy.
Yeah. Yeah, possibly too busy and getting distracted in too many different directions is the curse of the entrepreneurs, like the shiny
Yeah.
penny syndrome. It's like, ooh, look over there. Um, so the other one is so the your future career is for career starters, and then the version for career changers is going to be your next career. Very similar stuff, but there are again, we're talking more about figuring out your transferable skills as opposed to what things you need to come in, what things you need to do to learn those skills. And then for family businesses, I'm really passionate about family businesses. So I have a talk that I give that is called "Build a Killer Family Business Without Killing Your Family," and looking at turning that into some kind of a book as well.
Wow, I like that because family can be tough.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And what I'm finding, like with my business, I've got my son involved, but
Hmm.
I'm not so sure he really wants it sometimes.
Yep.
And basically, because he's an artist, he likes graphic designs, he likes
Hmm.
creating. And we've been talking about how his skills can be applied to what I'm doing,
Hmm.
as well as if he decides that he wants to take a job doing it, working with me is also helping him to build that portfolio.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So now it's ding, 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 ding.
Mm.
Instead of I gotta help mom, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've had to have that conversation with him because sometimes without family, it's like they don't look at us as a boss.
Yeah.
They don't look at
Well, so well, that might be how you see it. It might not be how he sees it. So I do a lot of work with what I call current generation and next generation. And getting those two aligned sometimes can be quite a bit of work.
yes, I'll say, because I mean, when he look at me, I'm mom, nothing
Yeah.
else. So again, Stephen, how do career changers, companies, people getting out into the workforce for the first time, how do they connect with you?
I suppose really everything is on stephenshort.com. There's a link out to Career Fit, there's a link out to Talent Select, there's a link out to Successful Succession. So all of that, the areas that I'm passionate about, it's all there. So stephenshort.com is the easiest.
Okay, well, this has been very enjoyable to say the least, and I've definitely picked up a few things because I'm from back in the day. We ain't had none of this. It was learned by fire
Yeah.
all the way. And having someone
So
who's
funny enough, one of the analogies that an old, I won't say old mentor, but a mentor of mine from a couple of years ago, he had this lovely analogy, which is when you say about the fire, that every one of us, we're somewhere between the fire and the clouds. And when we're too close to the fire, when we are really worried about money, about bills, about everything else, we'll go in any direction just to get away from the fire. And we don't have a plan. But once you get far enough away that you're not getting burned, that you have a little bit of breathing space, then you can start to look up and see which direction you want to go in, which part of the clouds you want to go towards. So it's a really interesting thing. Like when sometimes when people are going, well, why don't you just sit back and think about what you want to do? There are people who have bills to pay. There's people who've got to get, I don't want to swear in your podcast, but there's stuff to get done.
right.
And you can't always go, okay, well, I'm just going to go sit back and ponder the universe for 6 months and then decide what my next step is. So what we want to do is to make that process of actually figuring out the direction as painless as possible. So even when you're trying to move away from the fire, you're moving it in so you're not moving away from the fire this way when actually you should be going that way. So we want to do is to help everybody at all levels, from the very, very academic people who are looking at STEM and neuroscience and all the rest of it, to the very practical people who are not academic at all. They just want to get in and get their hands dirty and get stuff done. What direction do they go into? And we help everybody at all and at all parts of that spectrum.
Yes, and that's important because, like you said, that fire thing have you all over the place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I've been there before, and it was like, okay, because the bills are every 30 days,
Hmm.
and every 30 days you don't have it, that's adding to the pile and stress. So
Yeah.
I definitely get it. So again, one more time, Stephen, how do we connect with you?
So stephenshort.com, all the information is there.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. This has been definitely eye-opening for me and helping me to think about things differently, because sometimes we don't think about that. Like we said before, when you get out of college and you're looking for a job, you're just trying to work. Sometimes
Yeah.
you ain't thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? Which company is better for me? And you,
Hmm.
none of that is in your brain.
Yeah. So I have to put a roof over my head tonight.
Yes, exactly. So we are so grateful that you shared this valuable information with us and got us thinking more critically about pursuing a career, moving to another career, and also working with companies to help them be able to select the best talent for their
Hmm.
environment. So thank you. We gotta
My
do this
pleasure. Thanks
again.
for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you, audience. We appreciate you also.